Appreciate it, Coach. Thanks everybody for taking some time to listen and continue to get better, or I'll stuck isolated. Um, I'll go ahead and share my screen. Some of you guys might have heard me speak last time, and I'm Mike McClanathan. I'm offensive line coach and run game coordinator at Drake University in Des Moines, Iowa. So I played there, was an O lineman there. I got a whole background. I won't dive into it. I want to get into some football stuff. This is my contact info. Can everybody, Coach, can you see that?
Yes, sir. We're good.
Okay, good. This is my contact info. Reach out for anything you guys want. I'd love to talk ball. I got nothing but time in my hands. So we're going to get into more game planning stuff. We'll start pretty general and then get down into some specifics as far as different fronts. And if you guys, anytime you want to stop and ask a question, please do so. It's kind of going to be a little bit of a spray and pray as far as an approach. We're going to kind of jump into my process of how I game plan. So it's not better or worse than anybody else's, but this is just the way that my brain has to process to get stuff done to help build a run game. And that's going to be centered primarily on inside zone. So for us, when we're talking about inside zone, I talked about this last time, but for those of you that weren't around, when we talk about inside zone, there's a million ways you can talk about zone, mid zone, cutback zone, wide zone, outside, whatever. We're talking about inside zone. We're going to talk about a downhill aiming point of the inside leg of the play side guard for the back. Okay, and obviously that angle, that aiming point is going to set up everything we're trying to do up front. It's downhill aiming point. We want to move the line of scrimmage vertically if we can. But the main goal is displacement of any type. So we want to create wall or wash. Is kind of what we talk about on our single block. So on the front side, we want to create a wall. On the back side, we want to create wash to move the line of scrimmage laterally or vertically, preferably both. The expectation is we want to get as many double teams as possible because that's what's going to allow us to move people around. I don't expect my offensive linemen. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should expect this, but I don't think that they're going to take a one-on-one block and drive somebody 5 yards down the field 35 times a game. I don't see that being realistic. Not on an angle. Not when you got good players up front on defense as well. I want double teams, and we're going to talk about how I help create those from a game planning perspective. But yeah, so again, inside zone, downhill running play. It's not an automatic cutback, but we do expect it to hit A-gap back most of the time. That's frontside A-gap back, but a big thing for me is not overcoaching the running backs. I don't want to get them thinking too much. So let me jump into this. So again, why inside zone? It's physical, it's simple, it's got variability, and then we'll talk about why this is a big deal to us here. I mean, we want to run the ball, we want to be physical, but we all want to score fast. And so being physical and being downhill allows you to throw the ball deep on people because you're going to force defenses to adjust to stop your run game. And we'll kind of get into how I help do that as well from a game plan perspective. So again, this is kind of how I do it. It's going to be very general and kind of work its way into some specifics, but it's all about what kind of defense am I going to see on Saturday when I'm game planning. So structurally, I need to know what I'm going against. All right, everybody is going to do that in their breakdowns and things like that. But that's going to help dictate how we're going to ID point man. It's how we're going to get our double teams. It's how we're going to formation and personnel do all those things. But the things that you've got to know as an offensive line coach or a run game coordinator or whoever you are in the game planning process, who are we going to block every play with the 5 offensive linemen? Who are we reading as far as, is it an end? Is it the C-gap player, the D-gap player? Is it formation-based? Who is going to be blocked? Who's going to be hat on a hat? No matter what the formation is, who can we get our 5 linemen to block on every given play? And then who are the extra run fitters for the defense? So outside of the guys that you're going to block with your offensive line every single play, who else is going to be responsible for stopping the run, basically? Who's the adjuster that the defense coordinator needs to put in the box or run from out of the box or from the third level in to stop the run? Who are those players? And that's going to be more based on structure and coverage shell than anything. How are they going to defend the edge? Football is about edges. How can you control and manipulate the edge? How are they going to play tight ends? How are they going to play tight end and wing alignments? how does a fullback in the backfield change versus a wing up on the line of scrimmage, all those different things that we need to do basically in the breakdown process. And you can do all that stuff on Huddle DB Sport, like what we do here. And then what is their reaction to moving gaps? So for us, split zone was the only way we ran inside zone basically last year. And we brought a wing or a fullback across the formation almost every time. So we were moving a gap almost every time, pretty much a quarter of the time we were running a play, we were moving a gap. So understanding how defenses were going to react to that, if they're playing man, if they're playing zone, if they're going to roll safeties to match it, are they going to track the linebackers moving backside? How are defenses going to do that so we can present a picture to basically to our offensive line in practice and what it's going to look like, but also to the backs. But then also that can help you plan out your play action. And we'll jump into that in a little bit, because if they are going to require a safety fitting downhill on a moving gap, well, then you can now affect the third level with moving gaps and play action protections, and you can throw the ball deep because of that. So it's not just about selling the run, but actually moving a gap. And we'll jump into that stuff in a little bit here. And then are they going to spill or force or both, depending on the front? Are they a multi-front team? Different fronts require different types of fits. That's really more for the split zone aspect as well, but that's also going to be kind of key in how they're going to do some other things. And then what kind of answers are they going to have? That kind of gets back into this piece here as far as extra run fitters. This number 2 bullet point. What are their answers? Who are they going to bring into the box to stop your run? Are they going to tweak some kind of technique? I'll show you some guys examples of things teams did us that gave us some fits and how we would then answer that. But you got to start playing the chess game out in your head as far as, okay, if we add 2 tight ends in the mix, what's their answer? Even if we don't see it on film, you got to be a little creative at times and figure that stuff out without it being on film, based again on the structure of their defense. So understanding the defense, what you're going against is critical. You need to know more about the defense at some point than you do what your offense is doing, so you can make it fit. So this is kind of my really brief overview of how I know who the extra hats are likely going to be when I'm facing a particular defensive front week to week. So this is really about structure. This isn't really getting into the coverage shell. The coverage will dictate obviously who can be in the run fit and not in the run fit. And there are some exceptions, like I think about quarters being kind of an exception to some of this stuff. And Tampa too, which we saw this spring. We've seen it when we played certain teams in the Missouri Valley. That's going to change who your extra run fitters are in some ways. Those are more unique type of situations than what we see on the day-to-day. If you're really going to run the ball well, most of the time you're going to see a single high look. So you're going to get, based on these structures, here's who we see most of the time being the extra run fit. Sam linebacker in a 4-2-5 defense, so it's really like your rolled down nickel or star, however you guys might identify that, and then the weak safety to the other side of the formation. In a 4-3, it's very similar, just going to be different personnel. One of your outside linebackers and then one of your safeties is going to be extra run fit. And then in a 3-4, I say the overhang linebackers are your extra run fits. It's really kind of how odd front teams get extra hats to the party is with those people. So, are they extra run fitters or not? I don't know how you identify that, but they are the key in my mind to game planning against a 3-4 team, and especially a team that's going to play in a tight front. And we'll get into how I attack some of that in a little bit here. And then the 3-3 is the extra alley players. There's 2 extra alley players. There's one on each side of the ball, each side of the formation. So we're going to see some of that again as well. But knowing how to manipulate these things, who they're going to be on, 80% of the plays, you can assume that it's going to be one of the safeties and one of the outside linebackers in an even front team, and then your alley players in an odd front team. So how are you going to manipulate those people? How are you going to get hats to them? We'll get into that here in a little bit. So some things that you just have to understand or how I understand this is that you are not going to block everybody. You are basically playing with 9. Defense is playing with 11, unless you're going to run with the quarterback. Then you can even the numbers up. But, again, you're not going to block everybody. So who is not important to block and why? Understanding that. The other thing is angles are better than numbers. I don't care if you have 5-on-5. If you have really terrible angles, you're not going to move the line of scrimmage. You're not going to create displacement, and the plays will be dead in the water. Whereas you can also, if you have great numbers, if you have great angles and you're outnumbered, you can still win on that play because I'm going to create displacement and D-linemen, put them in the laps of linebackers. I'm going to get movement and I'm going to force you to misfit things, or I'm going to choose who is not blocked and blocked. That helps me succeed on the play and hurt you on the play. So that's really because I want to get into the hip pockets of defenders. So I want to create angles with front ID and formation, essentially, that are going to give me good angles. And that's going to allow my offensive linemen to get into the hip pockets of defenders. So why the hip pockets? Because I call it the strike zone, is basically hip bone to armpit. If I can get hands and face masks and shoulder pads in those parts of defenders, they're going to move. You don't have to be an 800-pound squatter to move a defensive lineman if you can hit him in the hip. If nobody wants to get hit in the ribs 75 times in a game. They're going to be peeing blood at the end of the game. We want to be physical. We want to move people, and that's the best place physically to move them. So I want to create double teams that allow my offensive linemen to get in the hip pockets of defenders to displace them. That's the ultimate goal, because it's really about how can I help win 2-on-1 and 1-on-1 matchups. That's what this is all about. That's why angles are more important than numbers, frankly. So, and you need to figure out how to get hats to the people that matter. So that's either condense formations or spread them out, be unbalanced, not block corners, crack, the different strategies for that. And then the different ways that you help preserve numbers and control the extra fit. That is something that is 100% on us coaches and from a planning perspective. And then you're going to protect your play. So you're going to allow it to be reproduced snap to snap. Because your five are going to block the same five pretty much every time or pretty similarly. But then how do you get those hats, get to the most important hats? How do you manipulate the extra run fit? How do you force defenses to adjust to you to create big plays? So number one is formation. Okay. I mean, everybody formations in the game plan, things like that. So are you going to use tight ends and fullbacks or not? Is that something in your offense or not? Using bubble screens and now screens, pre or post snap or both, whatever your prerogative is. We did both last year. It's kind of a lot to help control edge players and take advantage of that. A lot of people are doing stuff like that. That's not going to blow anybody's doors off. Jet sweep is one of my favorite ways to help control that because you don't actually have to block them. So you can take an athlete and run them across a formation, and you can influence extra run fitters and force different rotations by safeties by just using a jet sweep. And it doesn't change anything about the way you're blocking it, but it's just a different way to create a control on an edge player. And then play action. So, again, if you force teams to adjust and they get down underneath the deck, hit them deep and create a big play and score fast. Chicks dig the long ball, right? So a few things that I want to dive into as far as now, what does that look like from a down-to-down perspective is the most important thing to do is formation teams. So, again, when I'm looking at this – defense here, this is a 4-3 cover 3 team. So pretty standard, right? Here's your 7 in the box. Okay, there's your extra safety rolled down, corner, safety, corner. All right, so I know that we are going to be able to block 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here, right? So we got tight end, and we're going to split zone, so we're going to work him across. So I know that from a down to down, if we're going to run against a 4-3 team, the extra run fit or the variable run fit is this extra linebacker and then this safety here. Okay, so that's something I have to know game plan wise how to adjust for them. So I want to run at them inside zone because I want to cut back. So I need a tight end here. If I'm going to have a tight end in the formation, then I need to know that we can work together a combo up to this linebacker. Now they're shifted over here, so it's a little bit different. But in traditional 4-3 defense, I want to run at the tight end unless I'm going to use another type of control for that player, so I can work my tackle and tight end up to him. Then I can basically work 4-on-4 inside now from a different perspective. So here is another 4-3 look here. So if we're going to run to the left here inside zone, I want to be able to work this combo here because now I have isolated this section of the box to work with just those players alone. I can now take their extra run fit and cancel him out. You're going to run the other way. All right. But so what we're doing instead of that is we're going to arc the tight end 217. They're trying to play a 6 technique to eliminate his ability to climb to the next level. So you can see he's going to arc and influence this player. And now we've eliminated their extra run fit. Now we can play 5-on-5 inside. And again, angles are more important than numbers, right? So I want to make sure that we hammer that, because that's going to come up again when we start talking more odd front stuff. I want essentially the way that I'm going to, I guess if you could sum it up, how to help yourself get angles in a run game on an inside zone at least, is you want your point linebackers front side of the midline of the play. So I want to ID the point man here is number 35. That's who we're going to work to with the first double team. I want him past the midline of the play. So there's the midline. All right, there's the point man. That's going to help get a really good double team with time and space to drive him vertical and not force him to come off early. And we're going to be able to press and influence him outside with the back's angle and then hit a cutback while having great double teams. So that's a big, big win for us. So the right guard here doesn't do a great job of getting a double team. The one technique kind of slants the side. But what you can see here is these two do a nice job getting a double team. We get into the hip pocket of the defensive lineman, and we're able to move him. You can see that left tackle Chris Evans, he's got a hand in the strike zone. We talked about that when we talked technique for inside zone, and we're moving him. Now, in this particular game plan, we knew that in order to fit the extra gap coming across the formation on split zone, they were going to track linebackers back. This is on film, so you could have seen this. And they were going to fill with the safety on that side to account for the extra open B gap now. So we did that. So we didn't track the linebacker coming across the faces all the time like we normally would. So now you can see the right guard is able to fit and account for that safety. He's basically going to work to space rather than work to a man. And we're able to get nice physical double teams here and move the line of scrimmage. Again, angles over numbers. Because we're outnumbered technically here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the 6 safety coming down plus the 4 down. But we're able to get creative with the formation in the arc here to affect the 2 extra run fitters. We knew their extra run fit was going to be from the safety when we moved a gap. And we knew they weren't going to spill. So he's stuck there. Those are all things that are based on defensive structure that allow us to pop this thing for a nice 13-yard gain because we knew where their extra run fit was going to be. Again, it's not just, we're moving people around here. That's pretty good, but we've given them a chance to be physical and work on good angles and things like that. That is critical. If you can't work to get good angles, then you're going to have a more difficult time. So now here's an odd front team, is more at state. So this is a front that is typically not ideal to run a ton of traditional zone read against. Like a 404 odd front can be difficult. So when I'm working into an odd front defense, I'm really focusing on I want to have tight ends and fullbacks in the game. And here's why. Again, when we think about creating angles, if I don't have a tight end in the game here, I don't have a fullback in the game, I have to block 5-on-5. So if you take a look at this picture, and you'll see trying to base block 5-on-5, those are bad angles. I don't expect 5 single blocks to win me a football game and try to hang my hat on that. What I want to do, again, the point of inside zone, at least the way we run it, is we want to get double teams. So again, we want to create W's. I want to get angles. I want to get my offensive linemen in the hip pockets of defenders. So I want to kick this front. I want to push it to +1 from the box. So I want to control the overhang linebacker with my first double team. Okay, so again, when we talk about 3-4 defense, we want to control the overhang linebackers. Okay, so in this picture right here, that's one overhang linebacker, and then there's the second one. All right, so formationally, I want to have a tight end there because I want to work my first combo to this +1 defender, meaning that I'm going to now be short a hat on the backside if I don't have a tight end in there. I don't have a 6th offensive lineman in there. Because most offensive teams, especially a 404 or a team that's going to tighten the front down and basically play it bare, you're going to lose your tackle on that down lineman. So you're not going to be able to get him to climb to the -1 linebacker like you normally would like say in an even front or a more traditional odd front with their 505, most of those teams aren't playing 5 techs anymore because they can. Gosh dang it, this thing's jumping around on me like crazy. Okay, so I want to make sure I can have a tight end in the game to get here, so I can control the overhang on the front side with the offensive line, and I can create angles. Again, it's all about how can I create angles to have good double teams. So then you say, well, Mike, what about this other overhang linebacker? Well, he's the guy now that I know is going to be either read by the quarterback. We're going to split zone, wham him, or we're going to skip him, pull around him. We're going to do something like that. Or I can use another version of a control like a jet sweep, a bubble to read him and then make him that read player or the extra hat and one of those other controls that we'll get to. So formationally, when I'm looking at odd fronts or 4-3 teams and different things like that, it really matters what I'm looking at from a formation game plan standpoint. It's not just about, what's my favorite formation of the week because this is a formation we run. I need to be able to create angles up front. So now we're going to work this angle here. He's going to block the B-gap player, whoever that ends up being, him or him, and then he is man on this. He's not going to join the zone. You're going to see he's going to be man on this linebacker. Does a nice job climbing here. So you can see now we're able to create a wall on the front side on our single blocks. Okay, we're able to get a nice double team on the zero here. And then we get a nice gain and it's a great finish running down the field by everybody. So now this play will really highlight kind of why that's so critical because you're going to see a lot more displacement on this play. So again, we're going to work an inside zone to the left here. We're going to split zone across the formation. So we're going to work to +1 from the box. Okay, center and backside guard are working here. Tackle's going to block the B-gap player. We have our tight end on the backside because we know that we're going to work to the front side overhang. So we need him to get to here. To get to this backside linebacker here. So again, if I wanted to play more spread football against an odd front team, we would have to play basically more one-on-one football, and that's not in our advantage. We don't want to be one-on-one when you can be 2-on-1. That's a much better odd. So again, you're going to see a great wall on the front side here. 74-75, doing a nice job winning on the inside V. You can see now, because my point linebacker is past the midline, he's on the front side of the play, I'm going to be able to work through the hip pocket of the down lineman on my double team to get to that linebacker. Boom. Nice separation, nice displacement. You can see he's really winding up because we want to strike the hip as hard as we can. Then you can see the backside tackle does a nice job, 1-2 step drive like we talked about in the technique presentation. He gets a hand in the strike zone as well. And the tight end, I don't think he really knows where he's going. But the idea is that he's supposed to go to the backside linebacker. We now have a hat for everybody. And we can control both overhang linebackers in the odd front, and which means is you should be able to have hats on everybody that matters. So again, now that's kind of what we talk about as far as formationally, how do we game plan for teams like that? You can see what different ways you use tight ends and fullbacks and reduce the line of receivers to chase down extra players. We'll go into some more examples here in a second. I want to make sure I hit all of these main points before we do that. But again, so now you know the extra run throughs. So you're in a 4-2-5 defense, or you're going to be in an over. So here's a 4-2-5 look. We know the extra hat is going to be him or him in the run fit. There's a corner, safety corner. His free safety is way out of the box. He's not in the fit. Here's your extra fit. Here's your extra fit. And then here's the 6 you're going to block with the O-line, or the 5 you're going to block with the O-line because we're going to read or wham the other player. So again, structurally, we know who we have to make up for in this play now. So we're going to do a post-snap bubble read on this alley defender here, the Sam linebacker. So this is going to be a give. You can see he cannot be in the run fit because he's worried about getting red. If he jumps in and he's the extra hat, throw the ball. We've got a good matchup out here. We're in good shape. Again, a lot of people are doing this stuff. This is not rocket science by any means. But it's about knowing what you're going into game week wise and understanding that I can block this whole box is going to be blocked. I'm good there. I've got numbers to be successful there. There's the extra hit, or excuse me, the extra run fit to that side. Sam linebacker's the extra run fit to that side. So we've got a reduced receiver here to block him. We've got a bubble read for the extra run fit to the field. We have plus numbers everywhere that we want to be Our safety or our receiver is doing a nice job push cracking. He's trying to figure out where he needs to be. But you can see now we have a point man. That's plus side of the midline. There's our -1. We have an open B gap. We should be rocking and rolling this play. We should have a lot of good chance to get movement. You can see we got a double team here, so we get a chance to get in the hip pocket. We're moving defenders downfield. We don't get off to the linebacker in time, but we did displace that 3 technique 5 yards downfield. And again, give me angles and displacement over numbers any day. But here we should have both. The running back decides to take it front side, and it's a nice gain, and we're finishing downfield. So again, from a game planning perspective, understanding structurally, it's a 4-2-5 defense. Who are my extra run fitters? How are we going to control them? We're going to use the bubble to keep the Sam out of there. We're going to tighten the alignment of the number 1 receiver into the boundary to get a hat on the weak safety. Right? That's eliminating your numbers and keeping your angles. So, okay, here is South Dakota State. So they're going to be in Tampa here. So this is a little bit of a different type of look. When you're going to see Tampa 2, from a coverage shell perspective, your safeties are not going to be your run fits. All right, that they're going to be the 2 deep safeties, obviously. So your extra run fitters are going to be, and the Mikes usually have to fit as well. So these are the 3 linebackers you got to deal with. Obviously, we got to deal with second level players, but then your boundary corner is going to be your next major run threat. Run fit threat. So again, you can see the Sam linebacker is still someone you have to concern yourself with. Okay, the field corner, that's pretty far outside to have to deal with him on a play like inside zone. You're going to run outside zone, something you really have to worry about. And then your extra run fit is going to be your corner into the boundary as well, as far as if you're running that direction. So you can see our receiver at the top of the screen does a really nice job of making up for this. It's a difficult angle on a Tampa 2 corner to cut him off and get there. But what we need him to do is block the near number, the outside number, and be aggressive. It doesn't need to be a cutoff block where he's going to run inside and try to pivot and turn out. That's not very realistic. He's going to get beat more times than not. What we need him to do is body up and just make sure that he is being physical and pushing him. Just similar we teach up front. We just need to displace him. And then here we're also using a bubble control on the extra run fit to the field. So similar to what we did last play, except now we're running the zone in a different direction. So again, it's a post-snap read on the Sam linebacker. He jumps the run. We throw the bubble. So again, extra run fits. This is a Tampa defense, but again, you're going to have one of the boundary. One of these 2 is going to be at the boundary. You're going to have one of the field. In pretty much any formation in a 4-down defense, that's pretty much going to be standard. So if you can control the edge players and know who they're going to be, you can do things to help take advantage and set yourself up for success running the inside zone. So again, here, not great angles on this play. So you look at the front. If we're going to run inside zone to the left here, we're going to win on the inside V. We want to double to number 2 with the front side linebacker. That's not a good angle. So you can see if we're running inside zone to the left, that's the midline. Number 2, our point man, is backside of the play. So the point man is backside. We're going to have bad angles. So one way from a game plan is that you can help minimize this is you can either flip the run play to make him now front side. So if we're going to work to the left or to the right now, then we'd be able to have him now he's front side of the midline. That's a better angle, meaning that we're going to get a better double team on the inside to get a hat to him. Or you can run wide zone. You can check the play. Or you can kick your ID to +1. To +1 right here. So now your first double works here. Now your second double works here. And you have a better double team angle from here. Now you can get into the hip pocket, you can get displacement, you can climb to the linebacker. But if that's the case, then you need to know that you're more exposed to gap exchange on the backside and different things like that. So you need to do things like run split zone, or run like a skip look where you're going to wrap that wing around to help protect yourself if that's the case. But again, that's kind of your prerogative. Whatever fits your system, you can check the play, you can check the direction of the play, or in basically game week, you can just kick the ID to +1 always to the front side, so then you can now have better angles on the play. That's usually more of a 5-man box issue that you have, like a traditional 3-2. 3-2 front or 3-4 front rather, and then like a 4-1, like a Tampa or a quarters look, that you can get in that situation as well. So yeah, I'm gonna do the ball on the play there. Okay, so now structurally here, we're looking at a 4-2-5 defense. They're going to play a lot of this team's. Let me see what they're playing. Okay, yeah. So again, extra run fit to the field, safety to the boundary, safety. So here again, our point man is 17 here. We got great angles. He's way past the midline. That's the second guy we're working to. So we should have a really, really nice double team with time and space and create a lot of displacement to get to 35. We do a really poor job. So one thing to be aware of is when you're game planning and you see on film how they're going to play things, a stacked alignment is really difficult to work a double team to, especially when you're farther away from the play, especially with a tight end. It's going to be really hard for tight ends to get as vertical enough and to be as violent enough with this type of block to send him displaced over the top to get your tackle to climb to 17 and give yourself a better angle. So, but again, this is a 4-2 box. We don't necessarily need to do that. So they can work to the extra run fit from that side. So the tight end can be working out to essentially what would be the weak safety or whoever the edge player is to that alignment. In this case, it's probably the corner. So the tackle's blocking in. Now your first double team has a really, really great angle. Your center can get all the way to 17 here. So then, again, your extra run fit to the field. It's going to be the Sam linebacker. Yeah, so the bubble. Okay, your extra run player, he's coming on a blitz. Pull the ball out, throw the bubble. Need your receiver to block the corner. Or you just have that guy do that and make a nice play. But again, so that's bubbles. That's using bubbles to affect the extra run players. The other way to do it is to use a jet sweep. This is one of my favorite ways to do it because you can also you can layer quite a bit of things on an offense with jet sweep. As far as, I mean, anytime you're moving people around, I think is good. But also, if you're looking from the box and they don't track him, then run the sweep. The other thing is that if you are going to see teams on film, how they react to jet sweep, I think is really important. And you can create some big plays with it because some teams have an automatic roll where they're going to always roll their safeties to or away from the jet sweep. And then there's some teams that are going to track it with linebackers. That can indicate how much you want to run the ball or throw the ball based on that as well. Can really, really impact your play action game. And one thing, if you hand the ball off a lot on an inside zone or a counter or whatever it is that you want to run with your jet sweep, well, teams are going to start to identify that as a tendency that you're going to run the football when you have a guy in jet motion. Okay, well, now that adds to your play action ability. And if teams are always going to have to check and move in the back end as an answer to help change the run fits, and then you're throwing play action, you have a good chance to catch them in a bust or a bad rotation against the route concept, and you can dictate those things. So, again, so we're looking at an odd front team here. So, again, the key people to – oh, we're going to be – yeah, there we go. We're going to move around a lot. All right, so the key people to control, again, in the 3-4 defense are the overhang players, one in each alley. So, again, we don't have a tight end on the line of scrimmage here. So we can technically be a gap short by the way that we're going to box. Because we're still going to push the ID to +1 from the box versus the odd front in this look. So we need to use the jet sweep in order to help affect these edge players so we can get a hat on a hat. And you can see the influence that this jet motion has as well as a split flow of people running with the jet sweep. So it allows us to get hats on hats. This is not something that I would say for every defense is great to do to try to minimize your numbers, but it is a good way, as a good secondary option to do that. This film starts, gosh, dang, this thing's jumping around. Okay, so this is against Truman State. This is a 4-2-5 defense. So your extra run fit to the field is all the way out here. So in this case, we're going to use the jet sweep instead of a bubble or instead of just a receiver blocking them to affect the extra run fitter. So you can see here's the jet sweep coming across the formation. The play starts a little bit late. it's able to hold this player and this player here and help divide the defense so we can get a nice play on the ground. We don't get much on this play. But again, you can see the effect the jet sweep has. We've got him playing upfield, helps divide the defense. He's tracking the jet sweep across the formation, and so is the extra hit run fit player to the field. So again, we're playing an odd front team here. Excuse me, this is an even front. So who are our extra run fits? Okay, it's going to be the safety usually. Okay, and then it's going to be this extra linebacker to the field. So you can see our -1 linebacker from the point is this number 40. Okay, one of these players here has to fit the extra gap that's going to be created by the split flow in the zone. So this jet sweep takes 2 players and brings them across the formation. It's subtle, but what it does is it helps create that space right there where number 40 or number 19 should be fitting into the B gap and the C and the D gap. Now, they're a gap short on the backside because they were tracking the jet sweep. And again, that's something that you and your staff in the box can then check and see, hey, how are they reacting to this? Is it what we saw on film? Are they even following the jet sweep anymore? If they're not, then hand the sweep off and have him run for a bunch of yards. So here's a 3-3-5 defense. You can see we start sending this player in motion. The 2 people that we have to control in this defense is going to be the extra alley players. So there's always going to be one on each side. It's usually just going to be like part of their rotation in the secondary. So you can see we send this guy in motion. They start to rotate away from the play, and now they vacate a lot of extra space on the backside. Now, we don't do a good job of climbing up front here. 74 is supposed to climb to this -1 linebacker here, this left side stack linebacker. Instead, he blocks the 75 man. But again, you can see now the extra hat that we had to affect is right here. Now he is out of the play and cannot be a part of this conversation, as well as affecting even another potential run fit is the deep safety, the free safety at the top. Okay, and then last but not least, we want to be able to protect basically the run game with the play action game. So really, this is more about trying to get a big play opportunity than it is trying to keep the run game alive. But again, if all you can do is, if you can't throw the ball, then running the ball is eventually going to become very difficult as well. So again, knowing who the extra run fitters are based on the defensive structure and the coverage shell as well will matter more to this in this particular case. If they're really low, you want to throw the ball deep. I mean, I know Coach Maddox talks about under the deck. We set our deck at 8 yards because we believe that you can't play the run unless you're at 8 yards against us, or not well in my mind, and you can't cover deep if you're playing it under 8 yards. So we want to throw the ball deep. We want to throw posts. We want to run goes, different types of double moves. But again, it must fit what you're doing in the run game. So if you can't run the ball, you shouldn't be playing action at all, period. I mean, that's a given. But your protections should mirror what you do best in the run game. So for us, we were a split zone team last year. That's what we did best. So we had tendencies. So we want to build tendencies so that we can break them. We want to be really, really good, and we want to be really, really run heavy in certain things. And we want to gash you in the run in these formations and in these personnel sets. And then we say, hey, we're under center a lot, so that's the only time we run the ball. Well, then we want to throw play action off of that. So you want to mirror your protections based on what your best run schemes are. In my opinion, the best run actions are involving a moving gap. So again, like a split zone action or a pull on a guard or something like that is going to give you the best fake. Pulling an offensive lineman is going to compromise protection at some point. But again, so you're going to see here, move down to. Okay, so again, you're going to see us move a gap here with this player right here, this wing. So it's going to look a lot like split zone up front. Okay, and we run a lot of bubble, like I said, or this is a now screen fake as a control for the extra run fit. And again, you can see there is nobody over 8 yards. So, hey, we're running the ball well. Let's throw it deep, slip somebody past, running double moves that look like what you do in the run game. Running a protection looks like what you do in the run game. Moving a gap forces teams to react, especially if it's something you do a lot. It's one of the advantages of heavier formations is that there's more people to move, and you force teams to fit with more people in the box and force their hand a little bit. So here you can see as well, we're coming across the formation. This looks just like what we're doing in split zone. The offensive line is hiding their numbers from the defense well. Running back is fitting up inside. He's rocking the baby. He's selling it. And we're releasing people downfield. Again, force teams into a single high look, into a zero high look based on who you know the extra run fit to be. And again, in this case, this is it. This is a roll down safety. And now we should have a nice play throwing the ball downfield. Again, you force them to play the run, force them to adjust, and then you gash them deep. And again, if you know how teams are going to fit a moving gap, especially a moving gap, a pull that looks like power, a wing coming across a formation, you can then use that because you know their reactions or what their likely reactions are going to be, and then build a route concept to replace that player in the deep third or in the alley or something like that. So, again, from the same game, all right, we know if they're going to stop the run, the extra run players they have to have are the extra alley players. Again, so here's one of them. Excuse me, there's one. No, that's the linebacker. So it's him, and then it's this player down here. Those are your extra run fits. They are low. They are tight to the box. We know now it's time to throw the ball deep. Okay, they've all reacted to the run. Running a double post concept here. So there's no help over the top. And again, it always helps to have somebody that can go up and get the ball. If that's not the case, if you don't have somebody that can win a one-on-one on the outside, then, there's other options, I suppose, but definitely go get a guy that can do that. That's kind of my piece on this, guys. Again, the main takeaways to kind of reflect are this. Angles are better than numbers, and you need to get hats to the people that matter most. So understanding defensive structure and how you're going to attack it, what is necessary to give yourself angles, and then build formations around that to help secure and try to minimize number issues, or to give yourself angles to make up for the number issues, and then using different controls like jet sweep, bubble, play action, and formations and things like that as well to help minimize the numbers. So angles first, numbers second, and formations and things like that to do that. And that's all I got, guys. For that, I can jump into some pass pro stuff now, Coach G, if you want. If anybody has any questions about that, I'd be more than happy to hear them. Okay, so I'll go ahead and jump into some pass pro stuff. Our philosophy when we're throwing the ball at Drake, guys, is not we don't want to sit back and throw the ball a million times. We want to be a run-first offense. It's why I've spent the last 2 hours of my life talking about inside zone. But from a practice standpoint, developing pass protection is like you have to have a million reps, I feel like, in my mind, to become a good pass pro. Guys, it's a pretty unnatural thing, I think, for people to do and to pick up and just learn. It's kind of counterintuitive. It requires a lot of really little detail. So for us, really, most of our pass protection development is going to be done in the winter and in the summer, specifically the summer. And then I'll spend some time talking about that. Make sure we get into that, about what we do in the summer to really kind of hammer home some of those fine-tuning things, because pass protection is such a detailed thing. It's hard to do when you only have 30 minutes of Indy to become an expert pass protector. Really, so what we do in practice is really more generated or focused around what are we going to see from a pass rush perspective that week. The development of our pass protection technique is going to happen obviously during the season as well, but like But our main goal is to prepare for what we're seeing Saturday from a pass rush perspective and how to defeat those specific things. Whereas in the off season, we are really in camp, and the spring is really more designed to create. I guess I have a slide for it. Is really about teaching correct movement basics and develop specific skills, and then becoming more fundamentally sound. That's our summer outlook, as well as our spring outlook, if we're not doing install, and then our fall camp focus as well. But in season, it is really more specific to what types of moves are we going to see, what types of athletes are we going to see on Saturday. But the first thing you have to know when you're talking about pass pro is you have to know the release point. So if you're going to release at, like us, we're going to drop the pocket to 9, climb to 7 on the hitches, then it allows you to set certain ways and do things that we'll get into. If you are going to throw the ball from a deeper alignment, like I know some teams will throw the ball from like 11 and climb to 9. That's really, really deep. You're going to want to do things and change the way you set and things like that to be more vertical from what I think that I'm going to discuss. But again, that's your prerogative. But when I'm talking about pass pro development, the most important thing to do is to develop a great set. So you have to set to leverage and defend space. Setting the leverage, defend space. Those are the kind of things that I say all the time to my guys when we're teaching pass pro fundamentals. So when you set, you want to create or you want to limit space. Most of the time in pass protection technique, in a drop back pass, which is really all I'm talking about here, I'm not really talking about quick game. You want to create space between you and the defender. It's going to give you time. It's going to allow him to kind of play his hand. And you don't have to being engaged for the length of the pass play and the quarterback's drop is going to be difficult to maintain leverage if you're engaged the entire time. So basically what you're doing by creating space is you're buying yourself time. And you're buying the quarterback time because of that. So right off the ball, you want to then see the shoulder read. So that's one thing that I don't know if I have any film of that or not. But when we talk about the shoulder read, we're going to talk about that far shoulder. It's going to tell you what that defender is going to do. Is it pointed straight upfield? Is it pointed at you? Is it going away from you? Is it upfield and then does it turn at you? So those are going to key you into different types of rushes, and it can really help a veteran offensive lineman know what's going to happen while the play is going on, and help him kind of change his feet, change his hands, and things like that to help him be successful against someone who is an elite athlete. There's a lot of these defensive ends that, and a lot of coaches, you'll see them in high school and middle school, you'll see them all over at every level. Some of these defensive ends are freaks. And not all offensive linemen are freak athletes, and they're moving backwards. So, yeah, it's a little bit different. So you need to give these guys every tool that you can to see and help them basically eliminate things that aren't going to happen and know what is going to happen. So that's what the shoulder reads are all about. We'll kind of get into more of that when we get into specific rushes. And then you want to maintain your posture and you want to react. So, again, this part here, maintaining posture, is critical. Being in a great pass protection demeanor, being strong with low pad level, is not necessarily something you can develop during a football season. It's really an off-season project, is to build stronger posture as a weight room thing. But you can do things if guys are strong enough to teach them how to get into it and maintain it and hold it, because it is an awkward and unnatural position to pass protect in. And then you need to know what rush you're getting and defeat that rush. That's part of the reaction piece. So, again, the set is the most critical piece. If you don't have a good set to start with, you're going to be in rough shape. So this is an everyday drill that we do pre-practice. We do it all winter. We do it all summer. We do it for pass pro. We do it for inside zone. We do it for wide zone. So it's just a 3-cone drill. I stole it from the Charles Bentley. I didn't make it up. I'm not that smart. But, again, so all it is 3 cones, right? Well, it's really 4 cones. But you're setting to 3 different cones. You'll see a lot of guys do this drill without somebody in front of them. I talked about this when I went over technique for inside zone stuff the other day. If that's all you can do, then that's all you can do, and that's fine if you're alone. But I don't want to just set to a cone. I want to set to a man all the time, because all of my landmarks are related to a defender. They're not about just a spot on the grass. Some guys do set the spots and they defend that spot. I know there's a lot of line coaches that do that, and that's fine. I don't do that. There's certainly merit to it. If anybody is a big believer in that, I would love to hear from you and kind of talk me through why and how you teach it that way, because I'd love to learn more about it. But we don't do that. We set to a man, essentially. So, again, what this does is it gives you different angles, because the reality is that no two plays are the same in football. And so you need tight defenders, medium wide, and then really wide defenders to help create a conceptual understanding of leverage and how to set and drive into that leverage. So, again, you see on the snap, all they're doing is setting to their leverage point. So each player has a different leverage point. Tackles are going to set eye to eye. That's basically a kneaded crotch or a half-man relationship is what I usually call it. Guards are going to set a little thicker, called a three-quarter-man relationship, which is basically nose to eye. And then centers are going to set to a zero or whole-man relationship, which is going to be nose to nose. So you can see this tackle here on the right or on the left-hand side of the screen, this player right here, he's a little overset. So this is a tight five that he's setting to. A little overset. But again, set and freeze and defend space and maintain posture. Again, create space, maintain posture, and then defend and react. So again, one thing, it's going to sound kind of funny, but almost every offensive lineman I've ever coached does this, is they don't look at who they're blocking, especially in pass pro. They don't just stare at the defensive end. So, but I don't understand how I can expect them to block this freak athlete coming off the edge at 100 miles an hour, try to tear their head off, and not look at him to start. I think that it's a little bit ridiculous. So they definitely should be looking at their target with their eyes. You can see kind of the varying speeds of the sets here. You see this player in the back here is a fifth-year senior. He does a really nice job driving hard and exploding and getting that second foot back in the ground fast. Whereas this player here is a little bit younger. He's a freshman. He's a little more lackadaisical with his set. So he doesn't have quite the same body control and pressure into the ground that the other player has. He's not as strong. He's not as seasoned. He doesn't understand that you need that violence in through your feet and through the drive and through the ground to be able to maintain good posture and fight pressure when you get to that phase of the block. But again, you see here we're a little wider, so the sets get a little deeper. But again, we want to set at an angle. We should I tell them 45 degrees as kind of a base because we want to create width to the pocket. We want to make it flat in the front and wide, and so the quarterback has room to operate. So you can see Chris Evans, this player here working to the left, is doing a nice job setting deep enough to get on his angle to a half-man relationship, but not too deep towards straight back. The other thing to look at is you see how wide this player's set or stance is. So his first step doesn't really go anywhere, or not very far. He needs to drive really, really hard. He's not flexible enough to get that wide. And so he has to kick that foot really high up in the air. And now that's time where your feet aren't on the ground. You can't apply pressure. You can't fight without feet on the ground. So again, we want feet in the ground. He's got to drive. He's got to narrow his stance so he can get moving. Okay, so then now we talked about kind of defending, maintaining your posture and reacting to different rushes. So we'll get into some specific rushes here in a minute. But I want to highlight, this is a drill. This is a mirror drill. Everybody in every O-line coach knows of a mirror drill. But this one's done a little bit differently. This is a poor example. I don't have any good tape of this one right now. I used to, and we lost some of it. So what I'm going to have to do is I set to their spot, set to their angle, and then they're supposed to react and maintain leverage. But you can see one thing that Tyler, the offensive lineman going right now, isn't doing a very good job of is he's jumping his feet all up and down, right? See, these feet are just everywhere. So then when he does make a move, he has no pressure into the ground. He can't fight pressure, and he can't win the drill. He can't win the one-on-one. So what I would like to see him do is be a lot more still, maintain his posture. He needs to be really tight in his upper back. He needs to be driving hard into the ground with his insteps, knees inside of his toes, kind of squeezing his butt, squeezing his abs. I want his elbows to be a little bit tighter. I want his head to be back. I want him to be very statue-like and not react to all this extra movement and still maintain leverage. what defenses want to do when they're shimmying and the defender's shaking and going crazy in front of you, they're trying to get you off your line between him and the quarterback. They want to make you move too much because they're going to be a better athlete than you and shove you off that line and get to the quarterback. They're going to make you lose the space that you need to defend, and that's what happens here. So one thing I'll point out is the left tackle here is Jordan Lewinsky. He's a fifth year a couple years ago. He does a really nice job setting on his angle. Does not get his hand inside. You can see it. The right tackle here does a really nice job. Sets on his angle. 45 gives him the old shake and bake. He does a nice job. It's not perfect. He's not totally still, but again, he's not going to be totally still, of staying in his spot and not losing his leverage and not getting shaken off his line. And what I would like to see him do is not throw that right hand out quite like that, and definitely not on the near shoulder. I would want that hand to just stay put down by his hip, or, maybe not quite that low. I want his inside hand low, his outside hand high, so he can strike on the far pec.
Coach, you got about 5 minutes.
Perfect. Thank you, Coach.
You got it.
So one thing, this will be good because I'll point out kind of some differences in how these two guys play. But you look at the left tackle here. He does a nice job setting on his angle. Really, really nice drive off his first step. So his first drive is coming from his right leg, his up leg. Big drive. And he settles into a space. He doesn't let this player move him off his line. And then you can look, so this player over here, he's got a 3 technique, so he's going to set a little more vertical in case he gets a game. And he's going to put that hand out. But you can see he does not drive off his up foot. He doesn't have a great set. He's trying to get vertical. He actually ends up like basically bananaing out a little bit. So you need to have a great drive. So one cue that I use to tell guys is basically, I want you to load the leg, load the toe, and drive, explode. And then I want your big toe to pop up off the ground, and then it needs to go in the direction that you want to go. So you need to drive in the direction. So you can see he's got kind of an odd looking stance right here. He's trying to mimic the older guy, I think, but not doing great. So what he's lacking is he's lacking pressure on the correct part of his foot. So he's driving, and he basically goes straight out to the right, and then he starts sinking back vertical. But what he does do a nice job is he keeps his inside hand up so he can feel that pressure. He doesn't get shaken off his line by 40. He's a nice job defending that space. So one thing I want to show you guys is how we teach that to help get better. So in our summer development, something that we do, and this is an example of a couple of different ways that we do this, and we do it for all of our blocks in the summer. So we do it for run blocks, we do it for drives, we do it for drive sets where we're setting more firm, like play action or quick game, and we do it for our drop back stuff, but it's just banded resistance sets. So again, no equipment. You can do this 365 days a year if you wanted to. You don't need to be in football to do this. This is one of my his current 5th year. He was like a junior, I think, at the time we did this tape. But again, I'm trying to teach him with using the band to activate certain muscles in his legs and understand the shin angle that he needs to have to drive at the angle. Now, he's a center, so he's not going to work as vertical as maybe a tackle would. So he's basically setting firm here to a 1. Again, in an ideal world, I wouldn't have to be working the band, so I could either be the defender or somebody else could do that, because we want someone for him to set to his landmark, his aim point. But again, it was an imperfect day. We had to kind of get this thing filmed. So, again, try to teach him to drive and activate these muscles in his quads and his glute to fire and drive. Okay, so this is not something that I don't have a ton of time to do this in the fall in game week, but we do it in the off season to help teach those good habits and those movement skills, rather than, okay, here's your sets are what they are, and let's drill them and try to get them better. And what are you going to see in game week? So again, we'll do 3 or 4 in a row, create the tension, drive. You can see he does a nice job. One thing I'd say is right there, you can see he's learning to drive. He's going to fight the band. He's going to fire get the good shin angle. I'd say, because this isn't like necessarily a realistic drill, that's okay to see. What I wouldn't necessarily want to see that on game day is I want to see him preload his shin, preload his foot to get in the right spot. But he's doing a nice job driving and learning kind of the skill there. But then, so now we'll do the back leg, because a lot of times what you see when guys get beaten past pro, it's because their weight shifts really far outside their back leg or their outside leg, their back leg, and their weight rolls over the ankle. So then they can't drive back into the ground to change directions. That's me more like you think about it, if you're getting a speed rush that turns into a counter on the inside, is when you see it the most. So we use this on the back leg to teach him how to fight pressure and stop himself when he's in his set. Now you can see that really good shin angle. He's going to be able to drive into the ground, and he's going to be able to now move back in that direction. So if you go back to the first drill that we looked at, and you can see guys that have kind of gone through some of this training in the off season, they drive harder into the ground. Right, this player's he's driving hard into the ground. You can see his shin angle there. You can see the force being delivered with his feet hitting the ground, and he's dragging that front foot violently back to him to have a good base. Whereas you can see kind of a younger guy is a little bit more loose, like those feet don't quite strike the ground as hard as an older guy would. He's not as strong. He hasn't learned kind of the importance and the angle in which he needs to drive and hit the ground. And then we'll do them from a stance. Boom, nice drive. You can see him fighting himself here to try to stay tight. You see that kind of like little shimmy that he does there. Okay, he's a little rounded in his back. I don't like that. I want him to be more upright. I want to see, like I tell guys, like think about having a 600-pound bar on your back that you're going to squat. You don't want to be hunched over. You're going to get hurt. There's a reason why I tell them that is because you have to be strong to squat, obviously, and have a bar on your back. And it's going to put you in a position kinetically to be strong and to be able to fight pressure and do those things.
Coach, you got a question here.
Yes, sir.
With your shin angle teaching, what are you telling them to do as the drive as far as replacement steps?
Like the second step. So basically, there isn't much that I teach as far as getting that second step to you. I basically say I want that second step to get back to you as fast as possible. So one thing, I haven't done this specifically, but I do know some guys do it, where they'll basically band up that second foot right here, and they'll have him set like a 1-2 prompt thing where the first clap will be the first set, and then they'll try to drag that foot back in as fast as possible and teach that. To be honest with you, I focus on the explosion off that first foot. And then if that's really explosive, that thing comes back to him fast because it's unnatural to be that spread out. But some guys will not naturally do that, so then it has to be coached. Does that answer the question? Does that work?
I believe so. I'll see if he writes back in.
Sometimes I think I hear something and it's not what you guys
Yeah.
Okay. But you can see here, like we're banding the front foot here. So he has to explode, right, to fight the band pressure. But then if he explodes that violently and doesn't bring this, he's not going to be in a position to fight. So like it's just very uncomfortable for athletes to be stuck in that position. So I haven't really found it to be much of an issue. Where I find it to be an issue is setting to a really, really tight, like 3 or a 5. Then those guys basically pick their foot up and put it down, and they won't bring their foot in. So then they kind of get off balance. Like they don't really know which foot to drive off of at that point because their timing is off. So if you do have a really tight technique, what I'll have them do is basically just 1-2, chop their feet in place almost, or I'll have them set inside with that front foot, depending on if he's a tackler or guard or what kind of defense we're seeing. So, this stuff that I'm showing you guys right now, this was probably when we started doing this in the summers, I saw a much bigger jump in our pass pro technique in the fall than I did when we did other things. This banded stuff was definitely one of the best things that we started doing. It's really, really simple. Your guys can do this on their own. All they need is a band as well. And it's pretty much instant feedback because all you're doing is training the same motor patterns that you did, but now what you're doing with the band is you're emphasizing how to recruit those muscles and things like that. So it doesn't require extra coaching. It's not like you're running a drill where they could really do it wrong and build a lot of bad habits. They could, but it's a lot harder to just kind of screw up that way. So again, now one thing we'll see is we have got a lot of issues. And if I had a 200-pound med ball, I would use it for this. We have a couple big ones in the weight room, but I don't get to use them. Those are strength coaches' toys. But I want to create some weight in here. So if they have a 45-pound plate, it doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's heavy. And again, this is like a 12-pound med ball, so it's not enough weight. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to teach him. So he's got to get his hat back, right? I want to see his ears in line with his heel. So his eyes are over his toes, his ears over his toes. I don't like that because that means that his weight is forward, right? So he's got this med ball because in reality, basically, when we're getting ready to fight, you need your hands up. So I want their hands up, and I want their back tight. I want their gut tight. I want their butt tight. I want pressure into the ground, and I want them to be able to get ready to apply pressure into the man. So I use that to simulate this, and that's going to help force them to fight this idea of being too far forward, which is, I'm sure a lot of you guys see with this. The other thing with guys being too far forward is obviously throwing their hands too early. That's a really hard thing to train up. We do a lot of that mirror drill to help do that as well. So that mirror thing, and then basically have them shake and shake and shake, and then on my clap, they will then rush. Different things, but it kind of forces them to time up their punches a little bit more. I don't like the punch timing drills where guys like walk at them or you throw like a ball at them as much. That stuff's okay, but again, I don't think that it really simulates the need to be patient like a live rush situation does. It doesn't stress them to move side to side while it's happening. So you can see here, like doing all these drills again. We'll have him fight pressure in his set. Again, driving off in these different angles, holding a med ball to stay tight. You can see he's starting to sit back a little bit more as we do this drill, which is better. And you see on one of basically his ears in line with his heels rather than in line with his toes. And he's getting tired. I mean, the band and the med ball makes this kind of a ass whooper at times, but. And then we do some different hand stuff as well. So during the season, though, what we focus on, again, is those individual rushes. So, like, this is our bull and speed the bull kind of progression. So far shoulder will attack you. Okay, so once you see that far shoulder and that far number come at you, you know it's a bull rush. He's going to come at you. He's going to try to drive you to the ground. You're going to defeat this move with hands and a base. So, again, like I said, you have to have points of pressure on the D lineman and on the ground to be able to apply force. I mean, that's just like physics, you know what I mean? So again, we're going to start locked in. I don't teach a hop necessarily back like some guys do. You're going to move your feet backwards, but I don't want 2 feet off the ground ever because I think you're going to get your ass put in the dirt. But what I do want guys to do is one thing you got to notice is toes got to be pointed out. Toes pointed out, knees inside of toes. Again, you can see the shin angle is pointing directly at that defensive lineman. Through the ground, through the D lineman. He's got hands inside. You're going to see his elbows disappear from the picture. He's going to start to tighten up. So, again, you're getting driven back. So the way we'll do this drill is we'll start locked in. Okay, we'll do different variations of hand placements as far as you have an advantageous or disadvantageous hand placement set up with you and the D lineman. And then on my first go, the D lineman's going to start driving you back. And then on my second go, you gotta get into a good shin angle position with a good base. And then all you do is you squeeze your elbows down to your sides, and you're gonna engage all your lats, this crossbody section of muscle right here. If anybody's read the Charles Bentley books, you'll know what I'm talking about. Basically, when you squeeze this elbow and you lock it down and you apply pressure into that man, that lat is attached to that glute. Okay, and that lat is attached to that glute. So you create all this torque and this resistance in your body that is now fighting all of your power, most of your power that you can get, into that man to stop his momentum. So that's stopping the bull rush. So again, having inside hands is ideal, but what is really important is a point of pressure on the man. Doesn't have to be inside. Again, it's ideal to be inside, but it is not the only way to stop the bull rush. So again, especially if you have guys that are long, like if you're really short, yeah, you're going to need to get inside the hands because you're not going to be able to get a point of pressure if you have short arms and a guy you're blocking 6'4" and you're 6 foot. You're not going to be able to get a point of pressure on him. He's going to be able to extend, and you won't be able to get that. But again, you can see this is a really nice job getting this arc position here, squeezing his elbows. He's got a nice arc in his back. He's got nice points of pressure. He's got knees inside of toes. That's a really nice job getting in that position.
Hey, Coach, I hate to cut you off, but next session's in 10 minutes.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I figured. So
you're good. You're good.
Yeah. Anybody wants any of this information, man, feel free to reach out. I know Coach G will get the stuff up onto the drive whenever he's got a second to breathe. And I appreciate you guys listening to me. Hopefully some of it made sense. I didn't sound like a complete idiot. If you guys ever want to talk ball, I'm available. Coach G has my contact info, and then I have up here as well, again, if you guys want to take a look at it. Thank you for your time, coaches.
No, absolutely.
Appreciate it.
We'll look to get – I told you, we're just going to make you a staple every week.